So now we have learned most of the basics used in the Python. So while this time there are some important functions which are provided by the Python to perform some various tasks which make our programming easy by using this inbuilt functions. So let us start with some basic function which we have discussed earlier, such as int and then bool, string, float. These are basically four operations which convert any data type into the specific data type, such as if we have any data type which is string. So let us consider this. So let us implement this using functions. So let's take a s string which will contain a string which will be 1, 2 and 3. So let's give this int the parameter as s, and then let's print. So let's print the type of s, and then again this with the type. So let's comment this and then see. So here first the type of s means the string we are using is of class string. So this is basically a string, and when we use this function int s, it converts it into the class integer, means this s is now converted into integer. So let's also print the s. So you can see now this 1, 2, 3 is converted into int. So now if we change this to float, then you can see now the class changed to float. And if we assign this value of float to s again, then we can see a 0.0 getting. So let's s is equal to float of s. So we have to change this code. So let's first print the s, and then s equal to float of s, and then print the s again with the type of both. Let's take the type s and copy this again. So now you can see first the 1, 2, 3 was in string, which we then use the float function to convert it into the class of float, which adds an 0.0 to it, means it is now created into decimal. So let's use the int function also. So let's change this to int. And now you can see, so this was a string, now this got converted into int using integer function, then this got converted into float using float, and now let's change this to bool and print this. So now you can see a true value. As I said, none and zero are the only false value used in the Python. So other else all the numbers, all the statements, all the strings are true. Therefore 1, 2, 3 got, as the float 1, 2, 3 got true. Therefore the float 123.0 gave returned as a true value. So if we change this bool to 0 and then print, so you can see a false statement returned. So if we change this to -1, it will return a true value only. So let's go to our next function, which is string, which will convert it into string and then print its type. So now let's take this before the boolean value as it's confuses. So now if we run this, so now 123.0 here is of class string. So first we converted string into integer, then to float, and then this float to string, and this string to then boolean. So we can interchange data type using these functions, which are simple functions which convert the given parameter into the specified data type. So let's comment this out and then take some other function. Let us take a list L which will contain some strings such as hi and then two exclamation and then new line and then coder with some dots. So let us take this list and print a statement using this. So we can convert this list into statement by using join function. So if we specify some separator, so this separator, let us give it as a space. Let's take it as at the rate for more better understanding. So we have to now specify a string and then dot join, and then this function will join the list items. So this will join each item using this special string which we mention here. So now you can see this in the output. So here we got hi at the rate, two exclamation at the rate, new line at the rate, coder dot dot dot. So here if we specify a space, then you can see the place where the at the rate was there, now it is occupied by a space. So we can also specify any string which comes between this. So here let's specify the spaces. So now you can see this is the first element of the list hi, this is the second, and new line is the third, and the coder is the fourth. So now these four all elements got joined using this function join with this string as a separator, means between any two items there is a separator which is provided by us. So similarly, now this statement, let us store this statement into L. Let's take this and again store to NL, new line. So now print the NL. It will give us the same output, but then also, so there is no change. So now let us perform another operation which will basically separate out these values. So let's use NL dot split. So whenever this split function will found any special characters which is provided into this parameter box, so deleting that, it will create it two separate elements of the list. So let's see and demo. So let's take the string which we have used for joining. So let's use that same string and then let's see the magic. So here we got our old list again. So as we specified the joiner separator in the split, so it removed this special statement which we are providing into this parameter, and the other elements got specified into the list elements. So let's remove this and only specify a dollar sign. So then you can see other all means this all first 5 characters before the dollar sign. So what does split basically performs? It chooses the special character provided by us. So that's the dollar sign. So here it will remove this dollar sign and then create this as an element. So create this as element and then remaining all is other element. So again in this, here it founds an dollar sign, so it removes it and then separates it out. So here again we found an dollar sign, so it removes it and creates two separate characters. So here we got this first, this second, this third, and this fourth. So similar values are present in this list. So splits generally splits the whole string into small strings using the special separators. So let's delete this and let's take a string which will say hi, this is coder. So there is some special statements. Let's take this string dot start with. So this function just checks the given parameter is present at the starting or not. So let us provide the string I and see the value. So here you will find a false because we have used the small case h. If we convert it to big and then if we see, it returns a true because hi is present in the starting of the string. So if we use only one I and exclamation, so it will throw an error. So it will return a false statement because this character is not present in the starting. Only h double I is present. So here if we just only type the h, then it will present a true, return a true. So if we only use the h, it will return true. I true. If it we change the sequence and input any another parameter, so it gives an false. So similarly as this starts with, we have a function called as ends with. So it is similar to starts with. It generally checks the ending of this sentence. So we can specify only dot a string dot which will return true. If we use C, then it will give us an error. So if we use coder, then also it will give an error because coder full stop is present. So if we give this argument, then it will return a true. So these are the basic functions. So we can also create data structures using some special functions. So let's take an variable L and store a list. So for creating a list, there is a function called as list, which takes an argument of a tuple. So as we know, tuple use starts with parentheses only. So we can specify any elements which we require, and let's print this. So you can see a list dot generated automatically using these elements. So similarly, if we have to create a set instead of list, we will just change this list to set and it will perform it. So you can see here curly braces got added, which is the indication of set in the Python. So there are some special type of functions called as map and filter, which are mostly used by competitive programmers. So let us see that. So let us take some strings such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and take a next line with A, comma B, comma C, comma D, comma E. So let us take these two strings as input. So let's take F as first string as input and S equal to input. So let's print it out. F comma S. So now you can see these two strings got printed. So let's print this in separate lines. So now you can see two lines got printed. So now if we use a basic function which we saw earlier as split, so let us split this giving the parameter as space. So this split will generally remove these middle spaces and then just only return the elements such as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So let's see that. Let's run our program. So you can see a list got created automatically. So similarly we will use the split function and then specify the parameter as comma. So here we have to remove the comma to separate out the elements. So we provided a comma and then let's see our output. So we got two lists. So let's take the function called map, for which the first parameter is the basically a function which is performed on each element of the second parameter. So second parameter could be a tuple, could be a set, or could be a list. So for this let's specify the second parameter as f. It is a list which we can see here. This is a list of string. So let's convert this into an integer. So int is a function. We have to not specify the parenthesis, as we have to just provide the name of the function, and map will directly add the parenthesis and use the elements of f and perform the function. So let's store this in the same variable f and output. So here this map objects generally returns an object which we will see in our further lectures. So this is a map object present at this memory location. So this basically is a hexa code for the memory location present in our memory. So this basically returns an object. So object can be converted into list using the function we learnt earlier, which is list and then the same function. So now you can see here this all got converted into the integers. So here you can't see the string, means double quotes or single quotes. Therefore these all are converted into integers. So let's take another self-defined function called as add, which will take some argument s and then it will return s plus 5. So let's map this to function f only. So let's take an f variable and it will be provided with the value of list, as we have to list the map object to see it's virtually. So map and then use the first parameter is the function. So we will use the add function and then the parameter as f. So now you can see each value is increased by 5. So 6 plus 1, sorry, 1 plus 5 6, 2 plus 5 7, and simultaneously you got the same. So we can also use another type of function which is filter. So this function basically works similar to the map, just returns the value if the condition is true. So let's take an function add only and let's modify this. If s equal or s mod 2 equal to 0, then return true, else return false. So this function generally checks whether it's even or not. So let's change this to even and s to n. So let's change this f. Let's take the filter function. So filter and then similar to the map. So the first parameter is the function. So our function is even and then our second parameter would be our list, so f. So now let us print this. First store it in the variable f. So here also filter returns as an filter object at this memory location, which is the hexadecimal value. So let's list this also. So list. So we can see that filter returns as the value 2, 4 and 6. So these are the even numbers, so which returns true. So if 2 goes inside this even function, it will return true. If 4 goes and 6 goes, it will return true. So filter generally does the function that it checks the function. If it's returned true, then that value is provided ahead. Else the value which returns a value of false, it will be not taken further. So if we change this to 8 also, then we will also get here 8, as it is also an even number. So we got a list of 2, 4, 6, 8. Here 1, 3, 5, 7 are odd numbers which are ignored by this filter function. So basically map and filter are same functions, just the map takes each value of from the list and perform this function on that, and filter filters the value of f using this function. As if this function returns true, then only filter pass these elements ahead, else it rejects that elements. So that's all about the special functions used in Python.